Today's the day that we drive my Porsche Macan Turbo for the first time since it was totaled. But before we can do that, we need to replace all of the broken parts that we disassembled so that it can go from looking like this to showroom worthy. And remember, I bought this car at auction.
New bidder.
For just $15,300. And sure, the car may have seen better days. However, that's all about to change because I have $5,800 in new and used parts sitting right here that are ready to be installed. Are you ready? I'll explain in a minute why the driver's door is missing. But first, let's go ahead and get the engine dialed in. There's only two things that we actually have to fix on it. First and foremost is the exhaust camshaft position sensor. Let's go ahead and get this installed. Should just press in. Engine job number 1 is done. The only other thing that we have to do now is to replace this coolant line that sits right above the oil cooler here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we are good on the engine, I think. Well, where else do we go now? Where do you want to start? I kind of think we start up at the top and work our way down from there.
Let's do it.
Okay. Earlier in the day, I wanted to remove the hood struts and make sure there was no additional damage. But of course, to get access to the struts, a ton of plastic covers needed to be removed just to get to the 4 bolts. And then I made the executive decision just to buy a new shroud from the windshield wipers. The old one was absolutely just caked with glass and soda. So for like $26, it made sense just to get this one. It's gonna sit something like that. And then we also have to get the new hood hinges installed as well. I've learned, and also watching a bunch of other YouTube people, the consensus is if you're buying a car that has been damaged in the hood, like pushed in, just to go ahead and get new hood hinges, because the odds are the original ones are tweaked in some way. So our only hope is that these are actually good. Got them on eBay used. Check this out. In order to get to the 2 bolts that hold the hood hinge, they're right here, right? You have to undo this wiring harness, take the connector completely off just to give enough room to get a socket in there. I'm gonna make sure these are tightened down pretty good. Oh yeah, we were good to go. Just gonna repeat that on the passenger side. All right, I have to give a shout out really quick to Porsche of Carlsbad in San Diego County. Man, the parts team over there has just been awesome. They were super gracious, took a bunch of time. If you need anything, you live in San Diego County or even Southern California, check out Porsche Carlsbad. So do you think we're too ambitious to get this all done today?
I think we can do it.
Okay, I like the optimism. I really want to drive this thing. That's looking great. The next part is this lower shroud, which will go just something like that, more or less. I don't think there was any bolts holding it. I think it was just clipped in. So Christian, I'm probably gonna need your hand. I just realized that the washer bottle needs to be installed before we put this on. So everything we just did, well, this can stay. We have to remove this. So I went with the lazy man approach and was able to actually slide it in by just lifting up this corner so we don't have to redo everything that we just did. Danger averted up here, we are good to go. Let me tell you why the door is missing. Well, I thought it'd be really easy to remove this fender that goes here and have it repainted because it had a couple of deep scratches in it. And long story short, I realized I had to take the door off to get to the bolts that held this on, or so I thought. So with that being said, let's get this fender put on and then the upper fender piece as well. Okay, I'm happy with how this is sitting. Let's get the upper piece kind of just mocked up to make sure it's sitting good before we get the washer bottle reinstalled. This is the piece right here. And it goes something like that. The bolts for the fender matched. I'm gonna consider that good. Let's get these tight and we're gonna keep moving forward. I'm feeling good. If you're enjoying the video, would you please press that like button and subscribe? It would help the channel out tremendously. I also try to respond to every comment. So if you have a question or a thought, drop it below. Thank you to everyone that has already subscribed. And now I need to find my 10mm because I have every other size. I got my 13, my 12, my 11, but I can't find the 10. Do you have it?
I might have hid it from you.
Might be in my pocket. All right, let's find this thing. All right, now we can actually start working on the front end. The goal for the next few minutes is to get this cross member on, the supports for the intercoolers, which will then allow us to put the whole radiator pack on. Once that is on, we'll be able to put a vacuum to it and make sure we don't have any leaks. And if we don't, then we can run the car to temperature once we get coolant in it. This is when we find out for sure if anything's truly bent, which I don't think it is, but if things don't line up, well, then you know for sure. Good there, good there. And we are good in the front. Cool. Now, it's just putting all of these 8 bolts right back on. Up next is the driver's side intercooler support, which I think will go on pretty easily. I put some blue tape over these air conditioning lines just so that things wouldn't fall in it and contaminate it. Let me consult my photos that I've took to see where all this runs. So if you're working on one of these cars, do yourself a favor and take a bunch of photos. After some finagling, we think we figured out how this goes and where everything routes to. Now let's get a couple of these top bolts, just take the weight off, and then we can get this mounted actually in the frame. This actually needs to come up like that. There we go. Now let's just put these bolts through. Before it gets too late, let's go ahead and thread through this wiring harness before I put on something where I can't reach this anymore. Let's go ahead and do what we did on the driver's side to the passenger side, but it'll be a bit easier because there's no AC lines to navigate. These tighten down because with any luck, we do not have to take them off again. We're gonna bust out the real impact. And for all of you at home, notice I am using the proper impact sockets.
Don't let that blow it up in your face.
No, we're using the black, we're not using the chrome because we're professionals. Radiator next? Maybe? Keeping on the theme of being a true professional, and I say that with total sarcasm, I am confident, but with an asterisk, that it's time to put the radiator pack in. So I'm gonna put the fans on now. Okay, now look at this thing. We have the full radiator pack. We got the fans, radiator, air conditioner, condenser. And now we're just gonna slide this whole unit right in the front. So what we're trying to do right now is there's 2 feet on the bottom of this radiator that slot right into those intercooler holders. So we just gotta line it up, and it's kind of a one-time tab. So once it's pushed in, there's really no going back. Before I do that, should we hook up the tubing first?
Probably a good idea.
Let's pull this off. Let's hook up the power for the fans and the radiator and transmission lines. Got it. Okay, we have power to the fans.
Oh, there it is.
Can you push down on that clip?
Yeah.
All right, that was the difficult one. The other one should be easier. I don't know if you're supposed to do it or not, but what I did to get that one in easier, I just put a little bit of Dawn dish soap around the lip of it. Lubricity is key.
So we haven't talked pricing. How much was this?
You know what? That's actually a really good question. So everything you saw with the hood that's also off camera just because it's so big was $5,800. Believe it or not, I got that hood for like 450 bucks, which is a deal. All of this was like fairly inexpensive. Brand new radiator, 120 bucks. Used condenser, $50. The fans were like 120. But overall, I would say every part that you're looking at's average $100.
Not bad.
No, not bad at all. Let's go ahead and vacuum seal the cooling system. And if it holds coolant, we are starting this thing momentarily. So when your cooling system has been completely empty and air has gotten into it, the best way, whether it's an old car or a new car, is to fill it using a vacuum. Basically, what we're gonna use is an air compressor with this device, which basically causes a Venturi effect. As compressed air runs across this, it's gonna suck all of the air out of the cooling system. If that holds for 30 seconds at negative 22 to 25 bar, then we know there's no leaks, and then that same vacuum will suck the coolant into the system, making sure that there is 0 air. So this piece is gonna sit right up here in the expansion tank, just like that, with an airtight seal. This will run to a 5-gallon bucket with our coolant, and this end is going to run to our compressor. Moment of truth, compressor is set. We're gonna let air run across the Venturi here. we were holding pressure. The only reason I'm holding this down is we had a little leak at the expansion tank. I gotta get a 5-gallon bucket. I'm gonna pour 2 gallons of distilled water and 2 gallons of coolant in it, concentrated coolant, and then we're gonna be able to suck it in and charge the system. If you don't know, you use distilled water always in your cooling system, because if you use like hose water, tap water, regular water, the hard minerals in it can really gunk up your system. So as you can see, it's still holding a vacuum. Now it's been, I don't know, 10 minutes while we prepped all this. We'll know when the system is full when the gauge reads 0 and lift off. And we're full. That is it. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Okay, we got oil pressure. Let me hop out here, see if we got any leaks. Hold on. Okay, you hear that noise? We did not put the air intake on. So the turbos are just like sucking from here, I guess. Or it's not, let's put it on really quickly. We'll have to take it back off. Probably needs the airflow sensor to run, so darn it. I'm just getting too excited.
Too excited, dude. Jump in the gun.
Fire in the hole. I don't feel any leaking from like a turbo leak or anything like that. I don't see any leaks either. Dude, I'm pretty pumped. Nice job. The vibes are high. So we got the car running to temp. It held steady at 200 degrees. I think that the cooling system and all that is good to go. What do you think?
I think we're pretty close here, dude. I'm stoked.
I can feel it. Like it's gonna come together very quickly. I do want to thank several of you in the comment section that encouraged me to fix that headlight that has the big gouge in it. So I went out and I bought a replacement cover for it. Let's cut the old lens off of it and get this one put on. There's one YouTube video showing how to do it and it looks terrible. I'm expecting this to take many hours, but you know what? If we can save $1,500 or I think they're like $3,300 new, let's do it. So let's go ahead and cut the cover off. Well, as I suspected, that was terrible. It took over 4 hours. It was probably 3 hours of removing the cover and another hour of cleaning it up. And this just shows how much butyl, which is just like an adhesive, like a silicone adhesive, was in this entire crevice. Now that's been all cleaned out, scraped away, we're ready to slide in the new lens cover. So I've never worked with this stuff. It's called butyl before, but here we go. We're gonna send it. No turning back now. Kind of liking it. That one better than expected. The butyl is all in. We have it kind of clamped just to hold it all together. It says it takes 2 hours to dry, and I added one more small bead along the top just to make sure that it's airtight.
Now let's go ahead and get these air conditioning lines connected for the front end.
I think it's time for our first shroud. I believe this just literally snaps right into the radiator. We can go ahead and plug in the air conditioning pressure sensor. And then it's that louver setup that in the last video I thought was gonna be brutally expensive. And it was still expensive, but not as bad as I thought. The entire setup with the motor was like $200. So for something that we had to have, I guess they could charge whatever they wanted, but I don't think that's too bad. That's gonna sit something probably like this. After looking at the photos and kind of just thinking this through, we think the upper radiator support actually needs to be bolted on first, and then the louvers will go in and bolt to that. This I got pre-owned, so hopefully it lines up. Now we can keep building up the front here. So we have to run the washer line, the sprayers through here, and then this wiring. Okay. And then I think we can actually screw that in. This probably plugs into the hood latch. So let's do that before we get everything tightened down. Oh, how's that hold? I can't.
Good.
So then we're left with an ambient air temperature sensor. I know where that goes, and we have a new one. Then it's just this plug and this plug on the two sides. Maybe those go to the bumper. Next is this. And this is something we actually reused. So it's a little bit tweaked. We're gonna have to finagle it in there. But this is going to mount to here. But before we do that, I think we put the air intake on because these block these mounting areas.
Yeah.
Another part that was actually pretty reasonably priced, I think this was like $90. And it came with a new sensor. And then lastly, there is an air, I don't know if it's a map sensor that we need to plug in. Now we just need to get these hooked into the actual intercoolers. So should we throw bigger turbos on this?
Full send.
I think we should. It's either we go crash bar or there's one more scoop that goes right here. Let's try to get that scoop on. Oh, before we do this, we finally need to get this put back on. That's why we didn't do this before. Okay, let's do this first. In. There we go. Now, this should sit something like that. Good news, we figured out what these mystery plugs were for, the horn. That would have been a real bummer to put this all back together, go to use the horn, no horn. So this is gonna mount something, this is the driver's side, but it's gonna, something like that. This I didn't get from Porsche, this is an aftermarket part, so fitment might not be perfect. Check the holes on the bottom. And hey, if you've never worked on an epoxy floor before, oh man, you can like slide around, like spin. It's great, you can slide tools if you need to. But if you live in San Diego, I got a great guy that did a fantastic job. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Okay, let's bolt this thing in. Let's get the new ambient air temperature sensor plugged in. And then that's gonna sit right in this duct. And then these snap into right here. Thoughts on, before we do the crash bar, let's put the shrouds on the intercoolers?
Yeah.
It's got arrows, but I don't know. It goes one of each, either that way or that way. This way makes more sense. I was wrong. It does go like this, which seems odd to me, but the photos don't lie. Locked and loaded. In. I don't even remember. It was like that? I think it was
like that.
Yeah. Before we do the crash bar, let's go ahead and put these brackets on for the headlights. These will sit something like this. I think they made these with some play because this is where the headlights sit, so if you need to adjust your gappage, you can. Let's just kind of run it in like a middle position, and then if we need to adjust later, crash bar time. And then we get to put on Christian's favorite part, which is the foam, but unfortunately I didn't buy the Porsche zip ties.
Yeah, so it's not my favorite part anymore.
And they're white zip ties, so the whole aesthetic is just ruined.
Falling on a budget.
Got it.
In there, dude?
Yeah, we're good. Horns are next. Well, let's get that foam put on. But what I realized is we didn't leave ourselves much room to get the zip ties around. It was a really bad idea to do the crash bar last. But here we are. All right, we are on the home stretch here. You know it's good when we're putting the final foam pieces in. That slides in there. Wait 1 second, don't go anywhere. I think it's time to put that back on. Oh. Now that looks good. Let's put together the bumper. So to do that, we need to get this grill mounted right in here first. Should we roll it face down? We were struggling to get the grill in, and it looks like that this cross member here is really just here for shipping purposes and needs to be cut off. So I'm gonna take my Dremel, I'm gonna remove this member here and this little piece here. Probably $1,500 in just bumper parts alone. I figured we'd start with the easy stuff first and then gradually get harder as we move on here. This goes something like that. How exactly? Well, I don't know. There we go. That's clipped in. That looks good, right? From your angle? Hopefully all the lights work like they did when we took it off. With my luck, something will be burnt out or the wire's not connected properly. Okay, let me tighten these up. On the driver's side, this plug was ripped off. And I spent hours trying to find what that plug is. Well, I finally had an idea of taking a photo of that one and searching on Google with a photo, and come to find out it's an OBD1 connector. It's like old school. I was able to get a pack of them. I could only get a pack of 8, but for $8. So all I need to do is splice this into here, and we'll have the connector for the side indicator, which I ordered a new one for. Here's the grand reveal for the passenger side. How's it look? Does it look complete?
It does.
Okay. Well, we got to do that, of course, to the other side now. I'm no electrician, so don't judge me too hard on my splice. Now I don't have a heat gun, for those of you wondering why I'm using a lighter. Okay, good enough for me. Can we put it on the car?
Do it.
Here we go. Okay, let's marvel at our work. Oh yeah.
Do that.
This looks like it's almost dry. You need about probably 30 minutes or so. So I'm thinking we do the hood first. So will you help me carry it in?
Let's do it.
It's the big reveal. No one's seen the hood yet. Here it goes to the real test fitment. I don't have the piece connected to release the hood. This needs to go on top of that mechanism. You probably can't see what I'm doing. I can't see what I'm doing.
You do this on purpose for content?
Yeah. Lesson learned. Let's go ahead and put this piece back on, and then we can put the handle so we can actually release it. We ended up getting a long screwdriver, and fortunately there was enough room to kind of manually pull each of those back. I don't know. Let's just leave it like that for now. Well, the camera guy was able to figure this out
First tee.
while I was on a water break. But as long as it's done, that's all I care about. Are we stoked on how this turned out?
Pretty stoked.
Look at that.
Clean.
I'm so happy that we replaced that lens. It looks, hold on, let me grab the other one. It's a night and day difference. It's kind of hard to see through, but look at that. What's next? We need to move over the hood componentry on the bottom side, obviously get an emblem on it, and wheel liners and tires, and then I think that's it.
And we better not forget to install the door.
We ran out of sunlight yesterday for the final reveal, so it's the following morning, but we did stay late and we got the wheel liners installed, the under tray, and all the hood accessories. There's just one more piece to install. So without further ado, I present to you the completed Porsche Macan Turbo. And the cherry on top, the badge. You know what we need to do now, right?
Go for a drive?
We're going for a drive. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to subscribe because we are already in the works on the next rebuild, and we will see you soon.